but let me see, let me let Tanisha in. All right. So I'm really excited to dive into this topic tonight because I feel like this is not just a much needed topic, kind of always, if we're honest, but I feel like it is a very timely topic right now. Jill and I were just talking about this, that like I had this illusion in August that the kids were going to start school and I was going to have all this time and I was going to get all this stuff done. And so I had this grand plan of the workouts that would happen, the meal prep, the work, the house cleaning, the like projects, the things I'm going to, and like literally none of it got done. And I don't even mean like, I mean, but it was really funny. I made a reel about this. I think it's still up on my page, but I was like, that was a dumpster fire inside of a train wreck, like on fire. Like that was like our first week, a couple of weeks of school, where it literally felt like I had less time once my kids went back to school than I did with them home. And it was very confusing for me. And it really reminded me, I think that we often do this, right? As humans, you guys see this in your potential clients, maybe people on your teams, where it's like, oh, I'll have more time for the business when, or I'll start these supplements January 1st, or after I just get through this move or this holiday. And granted, there are absolutely times like Tanisha's just been going through a move, right? And Rebecca's going through all this like interviewing and job stuff. And there are absolutely transition seasons of life. And Katie's had an introduction of a new baby, right? Like a major life change. And these things absolutely sometimes command our attention, or something needs to come to the front and other things need to get put on the back burner. And that is like the beauty. This is something that I've been learning through my coach that I hired to help me with just harmony. She's like, she's not a balance coach. I don't really believe in balance. It's really about creating harmony in your life between the things that matter most to you. And when you're really clear on what those things are, things are just kind of going to ebb and flow, and you're okay. Like, hey, my business is a priority. My kids are a priority. There's going to be some days where I'm spending more time with my kids. There's going to be some days where I'm spending more time on my business. But because I'm very clear that they're both priorities, and I know that there's not going to be perfection in any one day, it's going to kind of ebb and flow. That's something that's going to like help you feel kind of grounded. And when you are clear on what you need to do and what matters most to you, it makes it a lot easier to have like joy. It kind of grounds you in those busy seasons. And again, I think that a lot of times we are just kind of like, it'll be easier when, and we just have to realize that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And the people that are getting more done, the people that we look up to, and it's crazy that I know that people look to me now, like, how is she homeschooling, has 3 kids, running 2 6-figure businesses, like, you know, and it's crazy because I used to look at the people that are where I am now, and I just couldn't figure out how they did it all. And I have absolutely learned what I think I thought were secrets that really aren't. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight. Because granted, I asked for more help now. I have more help now. I'm able to do more because I have certain systems in place, and I've gotten things in my home more organized, things in my business more organized. But most importantly, those things took me so far. It really wasn't until I hired a coach to help me get clear on like what really does matter most and what is my definition of successful as a mom in my business, because that's going to look different for Katie than it does for Rachel, than it does for me. We have to be clear on what matters most to us, and each person on that team, while we will have some commonalities, it will be different. And when we talk about how to, you know, free up more time for your business, there are things that we can outsource, or we can delegate, or we can get help with. Like Jill has always run a cleaning business. A cleaner is something that when you have extra time in your business is just an example, or extra income from your business is just an example that you could pay someone and support their business to come in and clean your home. And then that time is freed up for you to work your business and to make, if you're intentional, which we're going to talk about what that actually means tonight in your business to really move the needle forward, you can actually make a lot more money in that hour and a half that someone's cleaning your house than what you're going to pay them. Okay. So like, now that wasn't an option for me for a long time, but that's just an example of something that could be. And I think that the more we kind of learned of like even things like grocery pickup, right? You could maybe spend 2 hours in the grocery store, or maybe you could spend 20 minutes on Instacart or a grocery pickup or whatever, and then you're not maybe spending as much in the store. It's not taking as much time. And so there are things that when they are kind of on autopilot, or they are delegated, or they are outsourced, or when you know exactly, it's just going to free up time. So let's dive into this. If I just ramble, we're just going to wind up here for 2 hours. So basically, what I want you to know is that a confused mind does nothing. Decision fatigue cripples you, your team, potential clients from taking action. Something simple like a post. You can make a bomb diggity post, but if you do not have a clear call to action at the bottom of that post, telling someone exactly what you want them to do, from tag a friend, share this post, comment below, click the link in my bio. If there is not a clear call to action, it really doesn't matter how great your post is. You need to tell people what to do with that information that you just shared. Okay. Even if it's just, if this made your day, or if this made you laugh, click like or double tap or whatever, it doesn't matter, but there needs to, so we all just need clarity. And this is a big part of the new customer system that I rolled out about messaging people. I was realizing that, like, through my guide culture training, people really need us to guide them into the right decision for them. And they need that to be very clear. So that might look like, what sounds better to you? Would you like me to add you to the info page or send you some information right in here? That could be, so what sounds better to you, starting with just triplex or the triplex and the 3-day reset? That could be, what sounds like a better fit for you, VIP or retail? You are guiding the conversation and you are in charge of it, and you are making a clear, simple choice. I did not do this well for a very long time. And it was very confusing for my team in Beachbody because everything changed every day. Hey, Lisa, everything changed every day. And it was confusing. Things are a lot more clear. We could probably still really improve always, but a lot more clear. And I feel like our Me+3 website, getting people to share about the referral program, it has never been more simple. That is pinned as a feature post in our VIP page. I no longer tell anybody anything about the referral program. I literally have a message that asks them if they're interested. And when they say yeah, or I'll check out some more info, I immediately send the link. That's it. It literally tells them, this is a first post template. Here's what you would say. Here is your first, here's a message that you could send to friends and family. And then if you make a post, this is what you're going to send in a 3-way message to connect that interested person to me. That is it. There is a short video from me explaining, I don't know if it's that short, it's like 8 minutes, explaining the referral program and how it works and my story with it, which is really wise for you guys to use, because I didn't want to use it. I thought that I had to have a story with the products first to share. I didn't think it would be an integrity thing. It didn't feel right for me to tell someone about products that I hadn't even really tried yet. Meanwhile, I could not afford to stay on the products past a month, and I knew that coming in. So I really needed it, but I was still against it. And then I share my story, and obviously I have a pretty wow story with what the referral program did for me off the bat. So borrow my story, connect people to that page. But I cannot even tell you, I don't just drop the link. I drop the link and say, after you check this out, tell me which one sounds better to you. Me making a shout out post for you, or you making a post for a first post for yourself, or you just sharing with some friends and family, word of mouth. I end with a question. It is a clear question. There is just 1 or 2 things to choose between, and they let me know. This has just become the new norm, okay? Because a confused mind does nothing. So we have to be clear and concise. So just as our VIPs will not make a post or invite friends and family to our info page or to learn more about this if they don't know exactly what to do, we won't either in our businesses. People are busier than ever, y'all. But in reality, people are simply more distracted than ever. We are more inundated with options and information. We are more confused on what to do first or next than ever. Somebody raise their hand, give me an amen in the chat. Do you feel this? Because it's like, oh, I want to buy a sound machine. Which sound machine? Well, there's the one that lights up. There's the one that makes noise. There's the one that, right? Katie's nodding because she's in the thick of baby stuff. And she's probably looking at all these baby products like, How do you know which one's best? How do you know what pacifiers? But look, we are losing so much time making decisions because we have more choices than ever, and they are all fully accessible to us thanks to the internet, and it is creating decision fatigue. I see some nods. Okay. This has created a culture of people living on their phones, researching, watching other people take action to the point that they have no time left to take action themselves in their health, in their finance, and right? In their business, we are all wasting more time than ever. We are mismanaging our time, and we are wondering where our time went constantly instead of telling it where to go ahead of time. Just as people get into debt from spending from, more than they're saving, from poor habits of living reactively, spending money aimlessly versus telling their money where to go ahead of time, lack of self-control, all of that. It's the same with our time, where so many people, ourselves included, are aimlessly going throughout the day, spending our time on this, that, whatever comes up. And then at the end of the day, we wonder where all the time went. How many times do you feel like you did so much throughout the day? Like you literally felt like you were running circles. It was super busy. And then you got to the end of the day and you're like, I don't even know what I accomplished today. Raise your hand if you can relate. I see Tanisha, I see Katie, I see Rachel, I see, okay, it's basically everybody. Okay, then they're done that too. The key is to learn to manage our time by telling it where to go ahead of time. Just as a budget tells our money where to go ahead of time. But in order to do that, we need to know what we need to spend our time on first in our daily life and in our businesses. If you want to grow a business with excess, a business, I'm not talking about a side hustle, a business, then you need to make time for it. It won't just happen. It's not going to appear. If you don't decide to work in work hours, work blocks, you will continue to answer messages on the fly and fit this into the cracks of your life, which will leave you probably feeling flustered, overwhelmed, burnt out, living distracted, feeling like you're on your phone all the time, missing things that matter most, and actually spending more time on your business than you need to, but with less intention, which means that you will get less of a result. Does anybody feel honest and vulnerable enough in the chat to tell me if that is where you've been or maybe where you feel now? I can 100% tell you I have been there too many times to count. Now, we all know that failing to plan is planning to fail. We know this. Very often, we aren't doing anything with it. And we also all know that when we fail to plan out our day or our week, we are far less likely to accomplish the things that we need to. Winging it is not a recipe for success, especially not in your business. Have you ever said, like, I'm going to start that new workout routine this week or Monday or that new nutrition thing? And it's like, this week just gets busy. This pops up, a kid gets sick, whatever. And you're like, okay, I'll just start it next week. And it's been so many times of that you like don't even actually believe you're going to do it anymore. And it doesn't matter what it is. We all have our things. I can tell you one of mine right now is my photos. I've been saying for like 2 years that I'm going to organize my photos, that I'm going to delete, that I'm going to order these chapbooks, that I'm going to, this matters to me, family photos and albums. My mom passed away. This really matters to me. And then I'm not doing it. And the thing is, it's like I actually don't really believe that I will anymore. And now it's so far down on the totem pole, even though it's actually something that matters to me, simply because I just haven't told my time where to go with that. I haven't put it into my calendar. I haven't budgeted time for it to just get started. And we all know the start is the hardest part. Once begun, half done. It's been a year since I told you guys I was going to update our customer care. I said it last August, and I had a crazy month with 2 reels that went viral, and I went emerald, and I literally couldn't even like breathe that month. It was bananas. And I was like, I'm going to have it done in September. I'm going to take a cruise in my business, and I'm going to just focus on doubling down on customer care. And then I was like, oh, we're going to Hilton Head at the end of September. It's definitely going to get done before I go on vacation. Here we are a year later. And I'm always going to be the person that leads with honesty and integrity and transparency. I simply never put it. I mean, I wrote it on a to-do list, but how many of you guys have had to-do lists of things that never got done? Well, we're going to talk about why tonight. because they didn't get moved and penciled into your calendar where you had a time that was designated for it to go, that nothing else was happening in that time, and then actually keeping your commitment to do what you said you would do in that time. I can tell you from actually learning how to do this over the last couple of months, I am working more effectively and efficiently than ever, and yet I have been relaxing. I have watched TV for the first time in years. I am actually connecting more with my husband. I am starting to do more things I love, hanging out with neighbors, being outside. My kids are all in an activity for the first time. All of like life is actually crazier than ever. And I'm not doing this perfectly, don't hear me wrong, but I know that what I'm going to preach to you tonight works. And I can tell you that if someone as quote disorganized with time management as me, and I consider myself like Paul in the Bible when he's like, I am the very worst of sinners. That's kind of how I consider myself with this stuff. If I can actually feel like it's working and I'm making a lot of progress, I know that every single person on this call can. I have been a procrastinator my entire life. You guys know this. You see me do things last minute. I was at the library at 8:20 finishing content for our business messenger event last month as it was starting at 8:30. Okay. I'm not saying it's ideal. Tanisha sent me the best voice clip after it, just encouraging me that like you are a great leader and you may procrastinate, but you are getting things done. And listen, we don't have to accomplish everything overnight. Like we are all in progress, and we just need to look at the areas that we're making progress, because that's going to motivate us to do more. And it was such a needed message. It was so great because that's the truth. And like, we all have our own things. Okay. So we were saying that winging it is not a plan. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So let's move on to what you can actually do in your entire life, not just your business. In terms of even like when I talked about pictures and things that matter to you, because nothing feels worse than saying something is a priority and you continue to not act like it. And then you don't even really believe it is. And it doesn't feel good. Like your kids can be a great example. All my stay-at-home moms especially know you can literally be with your children all day and not feel like you are actually with them, like where you connected with them. And that doesn't feel good. There are seasons, life is crazy, you're moving, whatever, and you just got to give yourself grace, but it's not really a plan for living. So what I want you to write down, if you have a notebook tonight, like I did at the top, I want you to write down, what do I want my life to look like? And I know that feels like a really big question, but I want you to allow yourself, I don't have the full time to do it on this call, but I want you to set a timer for 5 minutes and not judge your thoughts and just write out what comes to mind. And it may involve you making a vision board, and it's bigger than Plexus. Like we did this. Oh no, that's all my notes for the call. Well, that should be really fun. So this right here, I can see this every day where I work. And this is just a little vision board that I made, and some things that matter to me. This is me hosting like a retreat or a gathering for women in the mountains or wherever. This is just something I've always wanted to do, probably a faith-based thing. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, whether it's going to be a healing retreat for people going through grief, whether it's, I don't know, but I know that I'm going to be doing something like this. This is because our dream is to have a podcast. Mortgage paid off. We just made a plan for that. This is because I want to be a speaker. I want to take care of myself in nourishing my body. I do not want to eat like crap because I know I'll feel like crap. This is a beach house because that's been a dream of mine since I was about 5 years old, was to have a house on the beach where I would write books. And that is why there is a book right here. This is because I want to relax and rest. I don't want to be somebody that feels busy all the time. I want margin for rest. This is because this mom is reading the Bible and teaching it to her kids, and it really matters to me that I'm in the Word with my children. And this is diamond, because I know that when we hit diamond with Plexus, so many of these things become possible because Plexus is a vehicle. Now, that yours is going to look different, and what you write down is going to look different. But I want you just to allow yourself now, after the call, whenever, this is not necessarily like a one and done thing, but to think of what you really want. And so often when someone asks you, like, what do you want? It's like in that Notebook movie when he's like, what do you want? She's like, I don't know. Like, we don't know. So how can you achieve it if you don't know what it is? How can you start to create it in your life if you don't know what you're going after? And it really is the same way in our business. Why are you going to do it? You probably aren't if you don't really know what it means. I just heard a cool training where she was talking about your why, and we know we're supposed to peel it back like an onion. And she was saying, you got to, I think it was Kyle Rainey actually saying to go like 5 layers deep. And he's like, so someone says, oh, my why is like an extra $400 a month for my family. And he's like, okay, cool. Why? He's like, well, because that extra $400 could, pay our, couple of our bills and things that we've been having trouble paying. It's like, okay, great. Why? Like, what would that do for you? It's like, well, if we had that coming in through Plexus, then maybe my husband would either be able to cut back to part-time on his second job, or maybe even leave that second job completely. Okay. And why would that be a big deal? Well, I mean, I want my kids to have time with their father. I didn't have a great relationship with my dad growing up, and I really want them to have that. Why? Our view of our Heavenly Father is shaped mostly by our view of our earthly father. And I want that to be a good relationship. I want our family to have a really good quality time together, that we can travel, that we can make memories, that we can whatever. And she's like, now that is something that will get you up out of bed in the morning when you don't feel like it, when the baby's been up overnight, when it's not easy to show up to your business, when it's the last thing like you want to do, like it's actually kind of been for me for the last couple of weeks. I have 18 million things I could do right now to get ready for this trip, and I'm on this call because this is a business, and because I have extreme business ownership of this business, and I have never treated it like a side hustle. But that's because I know what I'm going after in this, and it's a lot bigger than Plexus. And I want you guys to think about what that is for you, whether it's ministry, whether it's money to be able to foster, to adopt. Rachel and I were talking about this morning. I have never, ever met a team of women with so many huge dreams that I have heard about, huge like callings on your lives. Katie, every time I talk to Katie, like it almost scares me how big I feel like what God's going to do with this is. Her story and the amount of people that could be impacted by her story, it is so much bigger than Plexus. And Katie will be telling her story on stage. But I know Patty's the same way. Patty's been through an awful lot. And there is a huge ministry being birthed in that woman that is needed in the world. And I know that Plexus is going to be part of birthing that. So when you're showing up to these calls and you're showing up to their business, it's about so much more than an invite, than a pink drink. It's about growing into the person that God has called you to be. This is a vehicle for that. And it's not just about finance. None of that was planned. Roping it back in. This is my problem. This is why I had to make this. Okay. So I want you to think about what you want your life to look like. And guys, this answer is going to be different for everybody, but just to give you an idea, like when I sat down after a couple of trainings, I heard about like your perfect Plexus week, like, but not just Plexus, like what's your perfect week? And so I'm just going to give this to you as ideas. This is not because mine's supposed to be yours, but I wrote this down. I wrote down 4 to 5 workouts a week, 20 to 30 minutes, and a yoga session a week. I wrote down Bible and God time daily for about 30 minutes. I wrote down homeschooling 3 hours a day, 3 days a week. That is something I have to do, but it's also something I feel like God's called me to do. I put and actually at this time, I put down 1 hour focus block for Plexus during nap time, 5 days a week. Okay. So 5 hours, guys, I got to freaking Emerald on like 8 hours a week. 1 day a week to have a sitter for a 3-hour block. This was something that I thought would just really help me have a solid, that was it, nothing major. So chiropractor 3 times a week. Right now, so even this has changed. Right now, my goal with that is once a week to get to the chiropractor. So again, it can change. Hey, like what is good enough for you? This is what I'm saying. Maybe for workouts, you would be thrilled if you got in 1 or 2 workouts a week. Don't say 4 or 5 because I'm saying that now. I started with 2. So it's important to look at where you've been. And if it's a priority, how can you take a step in that direction that feels doable? I wrote down the family photo album, like literally having like an hour once a week or 30 minutes 2 times a week or whatever to actually make progress on some family photo albums and getting things off of my phone because I'm tired of feeling like that's something that matters that I'm not doing. I wrote down reading with the boys. That is true connection time. I love reading. They love reading. So I don't want to take time on my list. A budget meeting, my husband and I learned to not just make a budget together, but we need to review it once a week together and see how we're actually doing. And are we on track? Do we need to adjust anything? Friends and girl time. I have not always been intentional about that. Honestly, for a huge reason, it was financial. Another time, it was a season of my life that I needed to put my head down and hustle because my family needed me to do that. There's another thing about why you can't compare your season of life to someone else. It would not be healthy for Katie to be like, hey, right now, well, I'm just about to go back to work and I just had a newborn. Let me try to boss it like Kim. Just not wise. It's going to set her up for failure. It's going to make her miserable. That's not where God has her. So I think it's important to acknowledge, and sometimes you've got medical bills rolling in and your back's against a wall and God brought you to a way to get out of that. And it is time for you to hustle. And that's what your family needs. And that's okay. You just have to know your season and you need to know your priorities. So, meal planning. I was like, I realized I'm not going to eat healthy if I'm not doing that. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be, or I can hire somebody, you can pay somebody if you have the money, HelloFresh or different things to take something off your plate right there. Just because I want you to get clear on what those things are that really matter to you. Then we're going to talk about some ways that you can do that because there's different ways. Okay. Time to read or relax. Like I put that on there. Like I love to read. I want time for me. Any other moms feel like your entire day is like tasks that you have to do and things that you have to do for people. And like, when is there time for me? And even if it's a workout and that's filling your cup or taking care of you, it still kind of feels like a to-do on your list. I wanted time to just sit, like to be, even if I just started with 5 minutes a day to read a book or something, right? Like, so you guys got to decide what's not making the cut right now that you really want to, because it really matters to you. If you feel like you're not connecting with your kids, what does true connection look like for you and for your children? Is 5 minutes a day, 3 different times, 5 minutes in the morning to snuggle on the couch, 5 minutes after when they get home from school to have a snack around the table and hear about their day and just talk to them. That was one of my favorite times with my mom, super memorable. It was probably never more than 10 or 15 minutes, but I felt like she was so present and so with me and so excited to get me off the bus. And maybe it's book before bed or prayers or reading them a Bible story before bed. It doesn't have to be that you are making homemade Play-Doh and on the floor with your children for an hour or two at a time. Okay. But maybe you do. Maybe Katie needs a whole hour holding that baby for an hour to feel like, especially she's going back to work. So you just need to get clear on that. Okay. So what are your priorities in this season? What means the most to you? Now, when I worked through this with a coach, she kind of encouraged me to come up with 4 or 5 pillars. So we kind of deciphered after what I told her that my faith is one of them, that my family, my marriage is one of them. My kids are one of them. My business is one of them, and my health. And those were my big 5. She's like, so you have these 5 big dominoes, but sometimes the dominoes can get out of order. And she was helping me realize that my marriage, so God was number 1, and I want my marriage number 2. But what happened is my marriage shifted here to number 5. I see some of you nodding because I know this can happen. And I told her, I need to change that. And I don't exactly know how. And she gave me a couple of ideas. And if anybody's struggling with that, let me know. I'm happy to share. But we needed to start small. And so I can tell you we've made progress, but I had to realize that these are my 5 things. So there might be other opportunities. People ask me to do things, and to be perfectly honest, they don't really fit in with these 5. And so it makes it a lot easier to say no to the wrong things when you're clear on what the right things are. And there's freedom in that because you can say no guilt-free. Okay. So if your health, let's say your health is one of your pillars, and I'm going to guess, or your big dominoes that it is for all of us, that might look different for Tanisha than it does for me, than it does for Vale. Again, for some of you, it would be maybe 2 workouts a week or 2 walks a week. Or for some of you, exercise may not be on it. It may just be, I need to drink half my body weight in ounces, and I just need to start by adding 1 scoop of greens to my day. We can start small, but I just need to make some progress in my health. And the chiropractor, whatever. So faith, it could be church weekly. Maybe you've gotten away from that. It could be Bible time daily. It could be once a week. You got to start where you need to start to get some progress. It could be, I'm going to, read the whatever with your kids, whatever. Okay. So that's just an idea. So that's getting clear on those priorities in the season. What means the most to you, and then what needs or deserves your time, and how are you, like, what amount of, so number two is really what amount of time will allow you to feel like you are honoring that priority. Like I said before, nothing feels worse than being like, okay, God's called me to this business and it's a priority. And you're saying that, but when you look at your calendar is showing a different story. You haven't made a post in 2 weeks. You haven't, and I'm not looking at anybody else when I say this. This just happened to me. Like there was literally a whole couple of weeks that there wasn't like one post that went out there. Now, sometimes it's intentional. Val and I have talked about this. There have been times for Val. There are times with me. There are different times when you need to take a step back because there are other things in your life that need to come first. That's okay. But since we know consistency is everything, could we stay consistent with one post a week in that time? Could we stay consistent with just our customer care behind the scenes, no matter what, right? Okay, so figuring out exactly what, when you have those priorities and you're kind of clear on them, what does that exactly mean to you? If health is one, does that mean one chiropractic appointment, one workout, one whatever? And then kind of how are you going to know that you are honoring that commitment? Like what will make you feel good? Maybe one date. We realized we wanted more quality time with our kids. So we talked about having a date once a week. Now, granted, we did that really great in the first month, and then it didn't happen at all the next month. And something I've had to grow in as an Enneagram 1 is realizing that there will not be perfection. My plan is not meant to be weaponized against myself. Where, okay, I made this great plan and then it didn't happen. And now we're like, then forget it all, because like life is always going to go sideways, right? It's learning, how can I be rooted in these couple of things so that I feel like even on the craziest of days and when things don't go my way, that I still feel confident that I am honoring these priorities. That's what I want you to feel, because that's a really good feeling. So number 3, get clear on what is required of you daily, weekly, monthly, in your home, in your business. So I actually took a sheet of paper. You guys can probably see this, but it said at the very top, I just lined paper, wrote down the middle a line, and I put weekly in my home and weekly in my business. And I just brain dumped. So like I need to order groceries weekly or go to the grocery store. Okay. I don't have to go every day, but it does have to happen once a week. I wrote down, like, I need to make a meal plan, because for me, if I don't make a plan, then I don't know what we're eating. And then we're running out of things. We don't have what we need. We're making random trips to the grocery store. It's taking up more time. It's more expensive. It doesn't work. I don't really have the time for that in this season. So I do have to be intentional about making a plan to meal plan once a week, in 10 minutes of hopping on Pinterest, grabbing a few recipes. That actually saves me time throughout the week. You guys know that quote that says like 10 minutes of planning or whatever it is, saves you like, oh, I'm going to botch it. Somebody say it in the quote if you know what it is, but it's like every 10 minutes of planning saves you like an hour in execution or something like that. So that's just one example, but then you can write in your for your business weekly, like checking in with your current VIPs. Now, ideally, would you do that every day? Perhaps. I used to try to do that. To be perfectly honest, I am not in a season of life where I can really check in on all of my clients every single day. I'm just not. The business is too big. There's too many moving parts. I cannot do mentorship calls every day. I cannot do content creation every day. I cannot even get up a post every day. I simply cannot. And I am totally at peace with that, because I now know what the most important things are to do in my business. And I feel so confident in my ability to know what they are and to sit down and do them, that now I feel good regardless of what didn't get done. And that is what I want for you guys. So that's what we're going to talk about. So if you are clear on what's required, so like the business customer care, maybe being on a team call, maybe mentorship call, if you have somebody on your team, whatever, kind of just brain dump what those things are. And then you could write next to it, which ones are weekly, which ones need to be done daily, if there are any, what could be done once a month. Like, for example, I only need to post the promotions in our team calendar once a month, right? I don't have to do that every day or every week. It's just once a month. So it's just important to get kind of organized with that, because then if I know, okay, hey, team promotions need to go up once a month, it makes it easy to be like, okay, pencil that in on the first of the month, post the promotions, post the calendar. Does that mean it's always going to happen on the first? It could be on the second, whatever. But, and then even, okay, so I need to know what we're going to do next month. So maybe there's going to be a planning call with my leaders, like the last week of the month, whatever. So important. Okay, so then the next thing is to brain dump. So guys, I know I've seen Tanisha share, and I have shared that I do this typically on a Sunday, either afternoon or sometimes it's a Sunday night when the kids go to bed, that I look at my week ahead and I literally brain dump everything that needs to get done. Now, sometimes I do this like in general, right? Like things that don't next actually have to get done in this coming week, but they are in my head, and there is power to getting it out of your head. When we have too many open tabs up here, too many post ideas, too many things we'd like to do, too many things that are just, it overwhelms our brains and we wind up taking no action. And honestly, the real harm in that is we start to just feel like a failure. We get into a funk. We feel like we're just not doing anything with our lives. And the devil can really easily come in and prey on you in that time. And there are seasons to pause. There are seasons to be reflective. There are seasons, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when we know, right? It's not a good feeling. So, I will, like, this is one example where this is really small writing. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I literally just like brain dumped all this stuff that came out. That's actually what my to-do list looked like the first day my kids went back to school, because I'm an idiot and I thought that I would get so much done. And there was like one thing I crossed off my list. And I was like, that was dumb. But the brain dump was there. And so the nice thing is I got it all out. And then what I do, and this is, guys, this is how simple. My sister gave me this. I didn't even buy it. And I think she got it at Goodwill. But this is just something really simple that says Monday through Sunday. And it just is a way. There are calendars, there are planners, there are whatever. I'm the queen of buying planners and not using them. So I was just like, I'm just going to use a piece of paper that has every day and a bunch of blank spaces. And I'm just going to write down. So every day it says Bible/workout/celery juice first thing in the morning. Most mornings, those things happen. Sometimes, like this morning, one of those things gets checked, which was my celery juice. The other two didn't happen this morning because it was way too late last night. And so I kind of monitor by the day, but I will put down my things. I know this girl has to be shouted out today. I knew that I had to have my work block today be planning the content for this call. It had to get done. The call's tonight, right? So it's important to know what's urgent, but we're going to talk about that in just a second, because not everything urgent is important. This was important and urgent. So I knew that that was where my time needed to go today, and also customer, like checking in with my customers. So you brain dump all these things out, getting all out of your head. And if it overwhelms you to do this for an entire week at a time, just do it for tomorrow. Like right when you get off this call, be like, okay, tomorrow I have to order so-and-so's ballet shoes. I have to get this one to their recital or their class or their practice. Oh shoot, I've got to order the groceries for today. Oh, I have to drop off that check, and I have to, Tanisha might be, I got to paint that other room, or I got to, like, whatever. So whatever it is, oh, I forgot to get back to that one client. So message so-and-so, or hop on a one-on-one call with so-and-so. You just put these things down. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to happen tomorrow. As you brain dump them all, what you're going to do is say, okay, what has to get done first? So, so number 5 is, after you've brain dumped, you pencil those things into your calendar, starting with the things that you must do at or by a certain time. So when I have my brain dump for the week, I first schedule my priorities. So this is where that number 1 comes in. If it's your workout, if you said your health is a priority, and that means you're going to take your supplements every day, does that mean you set an alarm reminder on your phone for a certain time every day? Does that mean you put them on your counter or next to your toothbrush with that alarm reminder? Does it mean you put it first thing in the day so you don't forget and you're like, screw it, ProBio is supposed to be taken at night, but I'm just going to take one ProBio cleanse, pink drink, ProBio, whatever, first thing in the morning before the day, so I don't forget, right? Like whatever. Maybe it's the workout and you decide you're going to do 2 a week, and you look at your schedule and there are 2 days that you are less busy or whatever, or 2 days you have to get up early and get in. Those are the better days for you to pencil it in. You're going to put those things in because that's a priority. And I do not want you putting your work blocks in and your work priorities first. I want you to put in your work in your business as a priority. But the beauty of our business is we don't have to work an 8 to 5, where we have to schedule our kids and our family and our priorities around our jobs. We get to schedule our job around our priorities. Can I get an amen? Amazing. So put down church, put down your quiet time, put down your kids' pickups, your kids' drop-offs, the date with your kid, the date with your husband. Those go first. If you have a full-time job, Rebecca, anybody on this call, put when you are working every day in there as a block, 8 to 5, 6 at night to 6 a.m., whatever it is, that is when you know that you're working. If you have one of those crazy jobs, or then maybe you have your sleep block too. Something that's been really important to me this year is getting back to 8 hours of sleep. Again, I do not tell you these things so that you're like, oh shoot, yeah, I need to do better sleep. I need to get my goals in this season should not be yours. I've been there, done there with not getting enough sleep for a long time. Right now, it's just something I'm not willing to give on. So this is something that's a priority that I'm like, this is a bedtime. This is my wake time. I pencil things around that. Okay. So when your priorities are on there, then you're going to say, okay, I said I was going to do 20 minutes a week or 30 minutes a week on this family album or whatever. Or let's say you have a big thing that you've been wanting to do for work. Let's say you want to make your own customer care plan. Like, I just want to make my own messages. I want them to sound like me. And I just want to put a little whatever. And so you just pencil that, maybe that's an hour work block. And you say this Saturday, my mother-in-law has the kids and whatever. And I'm going to sit from 10 to 11 a.m. And I'm going to do that before I go to lunch with my friends or before I whatever. And that is on your planner. That is right there. And that's what you're going to do in that time. Okay. So you pencil those things, your work blocks, and guys, you could work Plexus 2 days a week for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever, and not touch it the other days. I mean, you probably would want to make a random post in there or check in, customer messages to see if there's anything pressing or urgent, but like, you really get to work this into your life, however it feels. So, so then that's penciling your to-dos and your work blocks around those things. And then number 7 is in your work block, you are going to be laser focused on one task at a time. You're going to set a timer. Let's say you're in your customer care block, or you are literally, this is your time to do follow-ups with potential clients on Instagram. 10 minutes, timer on, go. You go back through your posts, who's commented, who's liked, you go back through your messages, who did you not hear back from? Then maybe it's a 10-minute block on Facebook Messenger for follow-ups. Maybe you have a 10-minute block for customer care or check-ins, or 15-minute block. It depends on the size of your organization. And honestly, you're going to have to figure it out by just doing it. How much time does it take? There might be a content creation. So I'm going to get to something that's really important next. So hang with me, because this is going to make this all make sense. We all know that multitasking is the enemy of productivity. We are in a society that glorifies multitasking, and it literally, between the multitasking and we're trying to listen to a podcast and vacuum and like voice clip and like what's happening is we're not getting anything in from the podcast. We're not truly listening or hearing it. It's not doing anything. We don't remember what we heard 1 second ago. The dishes are half played, whatever. We're trying to do too many things at once, and nothing gets done well. And that's a great way to feel like a failure. I feel like I could write a book on that. So I don't do that anymore. I have all of my tabs for Facebook and Instagram closed, and I open up Project Broadcast, and I do not stop until I have gotten back to every single message. When that task is done, I am done. And guess what? There are days that is all that happens in my business that day. And you want to know why I'm okay with it? Because Shelly, my coach, helped me realize that there are only 4 buckets in our business. And ironically, my other coach, Rachel Bodie, taught me about there are really only 4 things that we need to do our business well. And when I learned what they were, and when I thought about how to figure that out, Val, I'm just gotta stop. Val looks gorgeous right now. Did you get your hair done today? I think she did. You look so pretty. So there are only like 4 things that we need to get done every day. And, and not every day, sorry, not every day, only 4 things we need to get done. And so when you know that, it really allows you to let the business ebb and flow around your life, and you feel like you're doing the most important things. So, so you do 1 task at a time. You open the box. I'm going to tell you what those 4 boxes are in a minute. You are working in that box until it's done. You set your timer, and when your timer goes off, you put it away, even if it didn't get done. So let's say Tanisha's like, I've got to pick up Christian in 30 minutes. This is like literally my work block for today. My first thing is my customer care. And there are like 35 messages sitting in my inbox from 3-way messages or whatever. And you already know you're not gonna be able to do them all. That's okay. She's going to go back to the oldest message. She's going to work up and get through as many as she can. And then she's going to put that box away because it's time to go get Christian. So here's the beauty of this. So there is freedom in knowing what is most important, because on the craziest of days, and we are all moms, and so we know that they are crazy days, what feels really good is knowing that what is most important to you got done. That could be your quiet time with the Lord. That's one of mine. I have to feel grounded. Shelly helped me identify, she was like, Kim, on the absolute craziest of days, when your life is chaos, you wake up and a kid got up early, this one's throwing up, your dad called to tell you that the cancer looks like it's back, blah, 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 blah. Like, what makes you feel okay? Like, I can do this. And my first thing was time with God. Every time. The day Caleb fell in the anthill, I was so glad that I had gotten my butt out of bed and spent time with my Heavenly Father that morning. And that and honestly, it was like 5 minutes. It was not as much as it usually is, but I prayed before I ever got out of bed. Like, God, thank you for going before me into this day. Whatever this day holds, I know that you love me and I trust you. And literally just a quick prayer. And I was so glad it grounded me through that experience that happened that day. That was pretty scary. And so I was like that, and it doesn't have to look perfect, but I just have to have that, even if it's a devotional and a prayer. And I have found that it really does need to happen first. Cause for me personally, I know my personality and I'm a very hard worker and I put a lot of other things first. I know that if I don't put that first in my day, 8 to 9 times out of 10, it doesn't happen in the day. I found the same thing with my workout. Don't trust myself in those areas to prioritize them the later the day goes on. So for me, I found to be successful with it. And for some of you, this might be your business. You might be in a season where you literally need to put that first because it's always last. But I also told her, my kitchen needs to be somewhat in order, because if my husband leaves all those dishes and I'm on a training call and I get up there and I'm finishing work and it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm going to bed and the kitchen is a disaster and there's sauce everywhere and dishes over the sink, when I wake up in the morning, my day is already completely sideways. I literally don't feel okay. But if my kitchen is clean, even if the rest of my house is kind of chaotic, I can do it. And so she was like, so that's really important. It's important to convey to your husband. And it's important that you know that, because we need to make sure that these couple of things are getting done every day, no matter what, because it will allow you to feel like you can breathe. And your things are going to look different than mine, but it's important to think about what those things are. Okay. Yes, the kitchen. Okay. So guys, this is something that I want to share that I've been super excited to share. And I'm going to have to do a mini training about this on the team page. So I was like, I'm so tired. And this has been something I have said for about 2 full years in Plexus. I just want somebody to give me a list of exactly what I'm supposed to do every single day. The thing about multi-level marketing that's so hard is you are your own boss and everybody's business looks a little bit different. And I am wired that I just need a to-do list, exactly what to do on exactly what days and exactly what order, so I can just feel like I'm rocking it. And we don't get that. But what you can have is a peace of mind knowing that you are absolutely doing what matters most in your business and you are moving the needle forward. No matter what your results are, that you are doing what matters most. You can know that, and this is how you can know that. There are only 4 things that you need to do intentionally every week in your business. Number 1, what I learned, I was like, yeah, but Shelly, I need to do all these things every day, but we realized all these things couldn't fit in a day. And when we looked at my current schedule and my season of life, we realized that there are a couple of days a week that it literally can't fit anywhere except for maybe 30 minutes of customer care messages. And that's it. And I kept realizing that posting was a problem for me, that I wasn't posting sometimes for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. Because some of you, the posting is the easy thing. But for me, where I'm at, there are so many messages in my inbox and so many customers to get back to. That's a higher priority thing for me, is taking care of the customers I already have instead of just trying to get new ones. And sometimes that's all the time I have to give, is taking care of those current people. So she told me, here's the thing, you are in a people business and you have 4 buckets. So she's like, literally get a box, from the dollar, the little ones at the cover, and write this on it, put those boxes on the shelf. I guess this could be one in your office, and be like, okay, customer care. I'm going to put this next to me and I'm going to set my timer and I'm going to do this. If you're visual like me, it really helps me to do this. So here's what this bucket means. So write this down, y'all. Right? Bucket number 1, customers. Now, this is the neat thing. This is your current customers and your potential customers. This bucket needs to be at least 30 to 45 minutes per week. We were kind of talking about per day for me. I guess I shouldn't give you that time. That time looks different depending on the size of your organization. the pace at which you're taking your business, season of life, all that. But for me, we realized that it needs to be about 30 minutes a day. Typically, I'm never opening up Project Broadcast to anything less than 30 messages. And so that's number one. But this also is potential customers. So she's like, you don't have to feel bad, Kim, about messaging the ordering instructions to somebody who's ready to order, or getting back to that potential client that had one last question before she orders. Oh, you're not taking care of your customers. Like, this is about to be a customer, and these people are customers. This is kind of one block is customers. Now, what also falls under this technically is posting a reel or something to draw in potential clients. That's how we connect with people. If you feel like your funnel is dry, you got to look at, have you created content in a while? Like, that's how new people find you. That's how you strike up new conversations. It draws people in. But that's actually not where you're creating your content. That would be where you're just posting it and maybe engaging a bit with people. Bucket number two is content creation. So other things that could fall under bucket number one would be tagging your current VIPs, checking in on them, sending them the weekly messages, when they have questions, in three-way messages with potential clients, helping somebody go silver. These are things in your customer bucket. The second bucket is content creation. This is a huge part of our business because, like I said, this is literally how we draw people to us and start conversations and build relationships. And we are in a connecting and a people business. This is how we connect. So we talked about how this needs to be at least a block, 1 hour to 90-minute block per week for me. Yours could probably be a little bit less. So what we did was made a note on my phone. And when I'm driving like I was today and it's quiet and I actually don't have all the kids, sometimes all these ideas will come to me at once. I got like 3 post ideas as I was driving today. So I will grab my notebook and I will turn on the microphone and I will speak the idea into a content note on my phone so that I don't forget. Then when I'm in my content block for the week, in full transparency, this has only happened like once or twice so far. I never want to have a call where you guys think I'm doing everything perfectly, because this is not so. I really struggle. I feel like I'm a better poster on the fly. And everyone has to figure out what feels good to them and what works for them. I want to be the person that is so organized that I'm creating it once a week. I'm working toward it. I have made progress. I absolutely know that when I batch a couple of reels, like I'm going to do tomorrow, I more consistently show up on social media that week than when I try to do it on the fly though. Okay. So I'm going to wrap this up, you guys. I know it's getting late, but I think this part's really important. So that is content creation would be, let's say you have an email, creating content for your email. If you have a newsletter for people, creating content. If you have a, what do you call it? A level 1 chat and you're making some content for that. If it's going to be a post for a VIP page, it would be there. Okay. So, and that is content creation, your second bucket. The third bucket is called community. This is a team training. If you are planning a training, if you're going to speak on one of our training calls, this could be team building. It could be organizing something. It could be a mentorship call with somebody on your team. It could be a mentorship call with me, creating content for your team, for a team page, things like that. Bucket number 4 is communication. Tanisha, I love that. I was like, and you literally can do it really fast. Isn't that amazing? She said she made 3 reels in the carpool line, and that is such a great use of your time. And that is a great way of saying, hey, I have 20 minutes that I'm sitting here. You could waste that time scrolling Instagram. You could watch other people's reels. You could, just check into the team chat or whatever. Like, these are not needle moving activities. They are not going to do anything for your business. Making 3 reels in the carpool line will. Okay, so the 4th bucket is communication. That could be if you have emails, things about Plexus, you got to do the W whatever forms to get paid. It could be messaging your assistant if you have one. It could be checking into the team chat, our pages, whatever. Like, so there is customers, content creation, community, and communication. And those go in order of importance. So why this has helped me is on my busiest of days, a lot of times, like I said, I will only get to bucket number 1. That is the most important. And if you did not watch my live or my video on the team page that I posted, when did I post that? Sunday night? Motivation Monday. I posted on Monday. I was sharing about how I literally haven't developed a silver in 2 months because I stopped doing the activities that it takes to develop a silver. It's quite simple, really. And I kind of just got into a funk with it. And then I was like, I also was just kind of on autopilot in my business intentionally in August. I needed a break and a rest, and that's fine. But then I kind of stayed there in September. There's these huge promotions. It's a great time for our businesses. And I was just kind of like, I don't really feel like it. And I don't usually say things like that. I haven't. And the truth of the matter is, when you have a big girl job, you have to go, Rebecca, do you have to go to your job if you feel like it or not? Pretty sure you do. Katie, do you have to do your job whether the baby's been up all night or not? But we don't treat our businesses like that, do we? And that's why our businesses are not paying us like businesses. I don't ever want you to look at me in Hawaii or in Portugal or anywhere else and just think that I lucked it out here. There's been a lot of tears and a lot of blood and a lot of sweat and a lot of hard nights and a lot of long nights and a lot of days that I had the disciplined pants on. And it's not fun. And so what I did last week, I love my job. Doesn't mean every single part of it I always feel like doing. That doesn't mean that there's days that, but I, on Saturday last week, I was like, go work, go downstairs and do work. And let me tell you, there's a lot of things I could have done in that time. I could have batched some reels, could have written some content. These things are great, but guess what? When you're clear on the fact that that would be my second bucket and it shouldn't come before the first, I knew what I needed to do first. So I followed up with some people. I got into three-way messages with people. I said, hey girl, I know you wanted to get your mom and your brother signed up, and it's an awesome month to do that because the promotions for them and for you are crazy this month. This is what they would pay. This is what you can get. Are you guys still interested? She got both of them signed up that day. Then I helped another girl sign up 2 people. And these were follow-ups too. Like they just needed another touch point. And then I signed up 1 person. My team grew by 5 people on Saturday morning because I worked. But guess what? You didn't see me post a reel. You didn't see me in my stories. I didn't have time for it, y'all. I only had time for what mattered most. I'm not saying that those things don't matter. Order of importance will help you work in ways that move the needle forward. So these are my couple caveats to end the call. Okay. Yeah, brain dump, all of your work to-dos, all the things that you want to do, that you should do, that you would like to do. There's a million things I'd like to do in my Plexus business that have not gotten done. And I'm okay with the fact that they probably aren't, because in my season of life, Plexus is not all that matters. There's a million things I'd love to do, and there will be a day and a time for it. But right now, my business is a priority, but it does not come before my husband and God and my kids, right? So I got clear on that. I penciled those things in. I worked this around it intentionally. I don't have time to waste with this anymore. I just don't. So, and I don't think you guys do either. So break those things down into daily, weekly, monthly, put them on the calendar on the days that to do at certain times, and schedule them in, whatever. But here's the last couple things. Learn the difference between urgent and important. You're going to open your inbox in the morning and you're going to see a bunch of messages maybe from people. Guess what? They're not my first priority. Team chat, love y'all. It's not my first priority. And I want to teach you guys that. That's not what gets done first. Order of importance in your business. If this is my time to go on and post my reel or my content because I know it won't get up, guess what I need to do? Not be distracted by Tanisha's message or Katie's message or the team chat or the notifications on Facebook or the other people that are messaging me or need me. And this is going to feel weird. It's going to feel like you're not caring for people. In reality, you need to do what is important and urgent first, because we are all busy. And if you only get 5-10 minutes for your business that day, then you have to do what matters most first. So lots of messages will come in from people. And guess what? When I'm inviting or when I'm connecting or when I'm following up and Tanisha zooms into my inbox, in my flesh, I want to hear what she has to say. And I just want to click on it because our brains want a quick win. It makes us feel like we're doing something. But listening to a voice clip from her is not most important in that moment. Finishing the task I was doing is. And when I'm clear on the order, now I trust that Tanisha would probably text me if it was urgent and probably not send me a Facebook Messenger thing if it really wasn't like super urgent, right? So there's that, but also learn to finish one task, start to finish as often as you can. It will help you get so much more done. I promise. And timers are really helpful. I like, when I know that timer is going to go off and I have to finish it. Do not answer messages on the fly. Am I perfect at this? No, I have come so far and it has changed my business. There are times in the season I'm in, which is the fullest season we've ever been in. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it. We are in a very full season that I am answering messages from people like Katie, Tanisha, team chat, whatever, when I am driving in the car, when my kids are playing or occupied, or I don't even have a kid. Shouldn't probably be on my phone when I'm driving, but sometimes I just don't feel like I can get to it all. And I want to get to those things that matter and are important. So it's not perfect, but I don't usually answer messages on the fly, because what happens is they don't get a quality answer from me. I listen and then I forget something and it gets buried in my inbox. I don't get back to it. It's just not. And plus, if you're doing it on the fly, you are teaching people. It's just not a way to build a business. It's a way to build a side hustle. It sets you up for failure. Your example is showing other people. If I message Rachel at 5:28 and I'm interested in trying Plexus and Rachel messages me at 5:29 or 5:30, do you know what that says to me? It's like, seriously, to me, it comes off as desperate. It just does. The other thing is, it tells me she's on her phone and available 24/7. And here's something that a lot of you might need to hear. You get what you allow. It's as true with our kids as it is in our businesses. You get what you allow. My team knows I'm not answering on Sunday. My customers know I'm not answering on Sunday. It doesn't make me a bad leader or mean. It makes me somebody that is clear on my priorities. And guess what? People usually respect that. I've even had people want to join my team over that. Nobody wants to work 24/7. So it's just not sustainable. So try not to answer messages on the fly. Have designated work block times for you to do follow-ups, for you to get back to people, all that. It will change your business. And take care of your own business first. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my Beachbody days was that I spent about 10% of my time on my business and 90% on my team. And you can't drag people. You can't want it for them. The best thing that you can do in your business is to lead yourself well and to take care of your business first. You know, the thing about the mask on the airplane and how moms, we just want to get it on our kids first. But if you die, you pass out, you can't get your kids' mask on. So get yours on, and then do it to them. And that is what you need to learn in the business, is to lead well. You have to take care of your own business first and turn around and help your team. Consider batching. You could batch write your content. Tanisha just batched some reels in the carpool line. That is called batching. That means that you literally, and you can be shocked with reels, how quickly you could do 5 in 30 minutes. And you have reels for the next full week, or depending how much you post, maybe your goal is to post 3 times a week. So you have almost 2 weeks worth of reels. It's a really good use of your time. You can do that with writing content. You can do that with relationship building. Val might decide that she is going to do relationship building on Mondays in her work block. And whether that means she's going to relationship build with current VIPs, with prospective clients, or both, and she's going to have a timer and she's going to go in and she's going to do that thing, and she can check that box knowing that she is intentionally building relationships, and that may be just 1 day a week. Chelsea taught me to do follow-up Friday. I am not in a place in my business, I don't think I really ever have been, where I can only do customer follow-ups once a week, but depending on the size of your organization, you might absolutely be able to do your follow-ups on Friday. And hey, maybe the girl, Tina, hit her 2-week mark on Tuesday. Guess what? Friday is close enough to Tuesday for you to be like, hey, heading into week 3, we don't have to be perfect. You can intentionally serve people well without being perfect to the day. Perfection is the enemy of progress. So that may be something that works for you, is doing follow-ups 1 day a week. This is just to give you guys ideas. You could batch inviting. I realized I cannot invite every day. And I've started realizing 1 day a week is a day that I can go in and send invites to people watching my stories, to people that have been interacting with my content. I can invite 1 day a week, and I'm not going to do 5. I'm going to probably do 50, 60, 70 invites a week. And lastly, guys, again, it doesn't have to be, cannot do all the things every day. So decide what matters and then plug those things in. All that matters is it gets done. It doesn't have to be done every day. And then the very last thing before we say goodnight is evaluation. I would plug this into your calendar 1 time a week. How did I do this week? What worked and what didn't? I had a piece of paper where I brain dumped and wrote things. And on the back of the piece of paper, I'm so glad this was helpful, Val. I have it somewhere right here, where I literally wrote down what worked and what didn't. And just to give you an idea, and everyone's tired, I wrote what worked is I got back to personal development. I made myself do this first because as an Enneagram 1, I see all the failures and the shortcomings, and it's so easy for me to just all of those. So I made myself what did work. I got back to personal development. This is old, by the way, but I got back to the chiropractor. I made an appointment with my functional and my dentist and a dermatologist. I did my mastermind performance that week was really good. I had a one-on-one with my VA. These are just examples. I played with the kids, whatever. And then what didn't work, I didn't get my workouts in that week. I did not plan my content. So literally only 2 posts went up. I was lazy with the kids' chores and routines. And so whatever. So I just made a list of things. And I put down like, hey, I did no Bible with the kids, but I also then said, why? And I was like, oh, well, I didn't, I stayed up too late. So I didn't get up early and then the Bible time didn't happen, or I didn't. And that's what you need to ask yourself, is just to get curious. And curiosity is different than judgment. It's not, oh, I suck, I didn't do this again, gosh, I can never do this, I'm never going to change. This is not what I'm talking about, because that's not helpful. Hey, why didn't I get my quiet time in this week? Why didn't I connect with my husband at all this week? Get curious. And this is where I would bring in journaling too. And then from that, you can make kind of a plan to do a little bit better next week with some of those things, not all of them, a couple that you really want are priorities to you. That evaluation really helps. I'm sorry this was so long, but when I only get to do like a good training once a month, especially with Hawaii, I want it to be meaty, and I hope it was helpful, because I know it's so easy to fall into the trap of I don't have time. And the truth is we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Our lives are all busy. They are all full. But when you're rooted in your why, and then you're clear on what actually matters most in your business, it gives you a freedom to feel like you are showing up and doing it well, despite your season of life and how crazy that things are. And that feels really good. You trust yourself, and nobody wants to feel like they're failing at something, right? So, and I guess the last thing, because I was going to say this and I forgot where I put this in, but I somehow skipped over it, is don't be somebody, guys, who just posts and tells yourself that you're building a business. I will die on this cross, and that I put so much into content and posting all of the time in my Beachbody days, and I just didn't understand why I wasn't signing a lot of people, and I just did not realize that the real work takes place in the messenger. It's talking to people. It's getting on the call. People's job is not to come to you. I got that so wrong for so long. I thought that if I made this bomb diggity post, then people would be messaging me and sliding in my inbox. And I did not realize, granted, I make a lot of great content now, and you will see a lot of people commenting and ready to sign up, but that didn't happen back then. And I think I did a way better job of being thoughtful with my content and making awesome content back then. And it just didn't seem like it was working. And I just wasn't intentional about just reaching out to the people that were liking or commenting and just being a real human being. Hey, and that's why when I made that new connect post and I shared it with you guys, I've been blown away by the response from people. Just, hey, I saw you, but just wanted to reach out. I saw you've been following along in my stories, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching and for engaging. That does a lot to build for me as a small business owner. It really does a lot to help me get my, more eyes in front of my posts, and to be able to reach more people and help them get healthier, which is always the goal. But I also love just connecting with people on here. And so I just wanted to, hear more about you and what drew you to my page or what resonated with you. And that has brought up so many great conversations. And that's just, I know Val is like this. I just love talking to people. And so this is something that actually brings me joy in the business, even if it never circles back to Plexus. Sometimes it's, hey, I started following you because I lost my mom too, and I love connecting with other motherless daughters. It could be, hey, your faith is really inspirational to me. I don't, whatever. So I just, yeah. Life is busy. We're all busy. You have time for this. But like Chelsea said in her reel the other week, we just have to start telling ourselves, I have time. I have time. I have time for whatever matters most to me. And if you realize your business doesn't really matter most to you, that's okay. Not everybody, like sometimes God's calling us away from something. Sometimes it's just a season. Like last month, my business was not number one. It's never number one, but it was intentionally me putting it on, on kind of autopilot, and that's okay because it ebbs and flows. But sometimes it's not, it's a seasonal thing. Sometimes it's just, be honest with yourself. I would encourage you to sit with that. What do I want my life to look like? And what do I want my week to look like? And just kind of start to journal through that and plug it in. All right. I'm going to look at the chat. Feel free to unmute yourselves if you have a question about any of this or anything that you wanted to share. Is that Val that said that? Yeah, we are very alike. And get really tired of sitting in that space where there's big things on my heart and I just keep not doing them. Like one of my examples was the family photo albums, and it's a kind of silly example, I guess, but it's just, I've done that a lot. And then you start to not trust yourself, and then you get in your head that maybe but sometimes also the real beauty too is realizing like, okay, that cookbook's been sitting there because I really want to cook, or all my seeds are sitting there because I keep telling myself I'm going to do a garden. But when you really sit with it and you're like, do I really want to be a gardener? Do I really want to learn how to garden? And sometimes the beauty is when you're like, I don't. My mom was great at it. And so I'm trying to make myself be great at it, and I'm not. And maybe if she was still here, maybe I would be, but she's not. And actually, it just makes me feel bad about it, about myself. Every year I make a garden, and we literally just went over it with the lawnmower because it's so bad. I didn't even want to see it anymore. So maybe, and like my girlfriend, Kristen, I love her so much. Kristen kept having this cookbook out. She's like, it just made me feel so bad about myself, because the truth is I keep telling myself to be a good mom, I need to cook these home cooked meals. And the truth is I hate cooking and I'm really bad at it. And I finally just dropped it off at Goodwill, and it's not there all the time. And I've just realized like, I don't need to be great at cooking home cooked meals to be a great mom. And so there's just freedom in realizing that too. My coach, Shelly, I just saw her, she's going through a big move, and she was sharing about Zaxby's and how many times they've eaten out lately. And she's like, and the cool thing is I don't feel guilt or condemnation about this. My health matters to me. This is just a season. Things are crazy while we move. And when we're in this new house, we're going to be back to our rhythms and our routines. Like Rebecca, maybe that'll speak to you right now, because I'm sure things have been crazy, and that's okay. Like there's grace for that. But when you know, hey, I'm rooted in my health, I know this is a priority to me. And because it is, just some little days, and these things are like little blips, they don't really matter. But of course, if it becomes the norm, that's when you check yourself, what's going on? Like, is it really not a priority? Do I need to get more intentional about that? All that. So, okay, y'all. Well, I'm glad this was helpful. And a lot of people said they needed it. So awesome. I'm gonna stop the recording.